to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to our wide world of sodas. We're drinking weird stuff while we talk about the good stuff. Welcome to our wide world of sodas. Wide world, wide, wide world of sodas.
How do you like that for an intro?
That was awesome.
So, hey, folks, this is Dave Sundstrom and
Scott Barnes.
And we are rebooting a show that, I don't know, was it 5-6 years ago appeared on this channel?
Yeah, I think so.
A long time ago, pre-COVID. So I'm thinking like 2017-ish, 2018-ish.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Wide World of Sodas. Perhaps my first collab. I did some Mayberry Memories with my brother Steve, but definitely first non-family collab was with this fella right here, Scott Barnes, a coworker of mine. And we worked at the Gateway Mall in Salt Lake City, right?
Yeah.
At least we had our offices there. We weren't in any of the retail establishments. I should make that clear.
Right. We were office buildings and the mall.
Yes. Yeah, so it's kind of a fun place to work. Scott still goes there from time to time to show up in the office.
More often than I want, but yeah.
And we would wander down to a little joint. What was that place called?
Rocket Fizz.
Yes, Rocket Fizz. Not open anymore, right?
No, it was open up until about maybe 2 months ago. So it survived COVID and everything else. Well, finally gave up the ghost.
That's too bad. You know what? I'm going to have to repost. I think since we're rebooting the new version of Wide World of Sodas, I think I'm going to have to repost some of those old episodes too. Or maybe we play clips during these. I don't know. We'll figure out a way because those were a lot of fun. We just tackled a bunch of different topics while standing there at Rocket Fizz.
Yeah, that was amazing. We'd go in and say, hey, do you mind that we shoot a YouTube video here? And they were like, yeah, whatever.
Yes. I remember telling them, yeah, I've got like 10,000 subscribers. I was so excited, hit that magic 10,000 number.
Yeah. Well, and look at behind you. You've got,
you got
your button. Congrats, man.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. It's an odd thing to say, but I have to say thanks, COVID, for that one, because no one is glad about COVID, myself included. But one of the consequences of COVID for YouTube creators was people were at home watching a ton of videos on YouTube, and the channel just grew so fast during that whole time that we were all at home, forced to find entertainment without leaving.
Yeah, I remember you were super excited at one of your videos back in the day that had 4,000 views. So
yeah. By the way, Scott, I still get excited at 4,000 views.
There you go.
All right. So the hallmark of Wide World of Sodas is we enjoy a soda that perhaps we haven't tried before, and we talk about a particular topic. But first, we crack open the soda. This time, we've got sodas from a company called Zevia. And I picked up these guys at Sam's Club, but I understand they're available at Amazon.com to order. And, you know, if you look around, obviously, you'll probably find them in your grocery store as well. The hallmark of this soda is that it's made from the stevia plant. So not artificial. There's no, chemicals in it per se. It's supposed to be fairly natural, fairly clean. And they also try to do good in the world. They're different. The way they package it and all these kind of things is to leave a very small carbon footprint. So they're trying to appeal to those folks that are, they are trying to be kind to the environment as well as their bodies. You got your Grape Zevia soda, Mr.
Fire? Yep, there it is.
Let's crack her open and see how it tastes.
Oh, love the sound. I even brought a glass for this. So look at that.
So prepared. I'm going to go straight for the purple.
It's clear.
Yeah, that is interesting. Again, they're trying to eliminate as many chemicals as possible.
So I like the fact that there's no food coloring in there. I'll have to let the foam go down. It foamed up pretty good.
Looking at the ingredients list, yeah, it's tiny. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm kind of a fan of the chemicals.
Well, without giving too much away, I was waking up with a chemically filled soda earlier. Okay, that is interesting. I'm trying to decide if I like it. I think I do.
Yeah. I wouldn't like it if it weren't really cold. I'm going to tell you that right now. Cold and crisp works for me.
Yeah.
I think if that were warm, I don't know if the sweetener, the stevia sweetener, it's got a different taste, doesn't it?
It does. It even has a little bit of an aftertaste. I'm going to try it out of the can. It's actually better out of a glass.
Is it?
Yeah. Once it hits your tongue, all that foam jumps up,
Yeah.
at least out of the can. Out of the glass, once the foam's gone, it's gone, and you don't get that when it hits. Nice light flavor. A little bit of an aftertaste.
Yeah, that's what I think I'm noticing is the flavor's fine, but that it's got to be the stevia.
Yeah. It's a light aftertaste, a lingering plenty.
I think there are those folks that would like it and enjoy it. I'm going to say that I'll probably not use this to replace my Diet Cokes and Coke Zero.
Yep. I like the bite that comes from lots of carbonation, and
Yeah.
it's
It
good.
would work in a pinch. I'm not sure. Again, this is my go-to soda. Unfortunately, they have a bunch of different flavors. I know my son Evan has had the cream soda and he really likes, and the root beer he's really liked. I've tried the Diet Cola version. I've kind of walked away with the same impression. I was kind of hoping the grape would be a little bit different, but it's not. To each their own, right? It's not bad.
No, not bad at all.
If this is what someone handed to me at a picnic or was all that was available at a grocery store to buy, I'd probably buy it. But with so many other options out there.
Yep. I think I'd be grabbing something else.
Well, there we go. Not every soda we try, folks, we love, but I do think that there's probably an audience out there for this soda.
Or were some back in the day that were just horrific.
Yeah, we need to find some of those too, though, right?
My sister actually gave me a 12-pack of assorted sodas, including the creamed corn that we tried back in the day and ranch dressing. I've been trying those with my son-in-law, who really was excited to try those. And yeah, they're awful.
There were some fun ones, though, for sure, that we tried back in the day. Like I said, we're going to have to dig up some of the old clips and play those.
Yep.
So the topic today, you and I had lunch, I don't know, not too long ago, and over at good old Pace's Dairy Inn, we were talking various topics, and I think we hammered out the first couple. I think this one's Scooby, and the next one's going to be Star Trek.
Yeah.
But today's all about Scooby Doo. And before we get going, I'm going to play a little video about the initial Scooby Doo, and then we'll talk all about it. Sound good, Scott?
Sounds awesome.
Okay, let me find that. There it is. Let's take a look back at one of the most beloved animated series of all time, Scooby Doo, Where Are You? And then covers some fun facts you might not have known about this classic Saturday morning program that originally aired on CBS for 2 seasons, beginning in 1969. The show was actually created in response to concerns from parent watchdog groups about the violence in cartoons during the 60s. The producers of the show wanted to create something that was both entertaining and appropriate for children, and they believed that a mystery-solving format would be a pretty darn good fit. Did you know that Scooby Doo was originally conceived as more of a music-focused show? The creators had plans to incorporate a strong musical element similar to the Archie show. However, the focus eventually shifted to the mystery-solving adventures that we all know and love. Speaking of music, the catchy theme song for Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Was actually composed and recorded just 3 days before the show's premiere. It quickly became a beloved part of the series and has been recognized as a classic. And before settling on the iconic name of Mystery Incorporated, the gang was actually going to be called Mysteries 5. Can you imagine that? Like many cartoons of its era, Scooby-Doo originally featured a laugh track. However, the laugh track was removed during syndication in the 80s, but was later reinstated when the show began airing on Cartoon Network. One more fun fact that you might not be aware of is that you can watch both seasons of the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You right now on Tubi for free. And since I'm done here, let's head on over and watch an episode of this classic cartoon. Oh, don't head over yet. Stay here while we talk about it, and then you can watch it later, people. So, Scott, what are your earliest memories of Scooby?
I remember getting up early on Saturday mornings and just being excited that, I was watching cartoons at starting at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And this one came on, as I recall, right around the 8 o'clock hour, if I remember.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was about that time that I was finished with my bowl of cereal and I was thinking about what we were going to do for the day with friends and things, but that wasn't going to start until Scooby was done. I remember just waiting and anticipating. I always found it super fun to watch, even though every single episode was exactly the same. It was still super fun to watch. It was Gilligan's Island.
Right. There's a formula to Scooby-Doo, particularly the early Scooby-Doo adventures, the Scooby-Doo Where Are You and the Scooby-Doo movies. There was always this. They stumble across a certain place, they meet certain people, there's the monster, and then ultimately the monster is unveiled to be one of those people that you meet at first who's had nefarious plans for usually a museum or something,
Yeah.
An old house, an old mansion. The formula worked, and I actually, in preparation for this, watched the first couple episodes of the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You on Tubi. There were moments that made this old man laugh. There's some cleverness, even though it's a formula that's repeated over and over. It's the way they do it that's clever and fun, and I can see why, as kids, it's something that we really enjoyed getting up and watching on Saturday mornings.
Fred always designed these over-elaborate Rube Goldberg devices to catch the criminal that never worked. It was always Shaggy and Scooby running away or bumbling into something that ultimately knocked them into Fred's trap, but Fred's trap never worked.
No. And Velma would always lose her glasses.
Did you read about that, though? I didn't know that, and I can't remember her name, the lady that voiced Velma.
Yeah.
In one of the first tapings for the show, her glasses fell off, and she literally said, "My glasses, I can't see without my glasses." And they were like, "We're leaving that in."
Oh,
and
wow.
so they started to write around that. Every show she would lose her glass.
That's a lot of fun. The other thing that would happen is invariably in not all, but most episodes, Scooby and Shaggy would find a time to take a snack break.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the Scooby snacks, which are so much fun. Even in the very first episode, they had Scooby snacks. But, they'd stumble across a kitchen somewhere and make like sandwiches and stuff.
And it was always this ridiculous Dagwood-style sandwich, right? That was just, amazing. That, too. So in the early ones, the sandwich had everything on it, right? Whatever they could find.
Right.
But in later episodes into the 80s, after Casey Kasem, who voiced Shaggy, he kind of forced Shaggy to become vegetarian.
I remember reading something about that. Yeah. He wanted Shaggy to have better habits in terms of his eating.
Right. So the sandwiches in some of the later movies don't have meat on them.
Yeah.
They're still,
Oh,
oh, wow.
we love you, Casey. We love you. So do you have a favorite Scooby-Doo show? There were lots of different versions. I've got this image right here. Let me put this on the screen of the ones that aired on the various networks prior to, like, there were some Scooby-Doo TV shows on Cartoon Network and Boomerang during the 90s and the 2000s, but these are the ones that aired on either, I believe, CBS originally and then ABC later on. Do you have a favorite version, Scott?
I don't know that I do. I remember the first ones with the, with the spooky text, Scooby Doo, where are you? I used to love that. It seemed to me that they were consistent as far as the writing style. The name may have changed a little bit, but nothing really changed between them. I liked it when they started introducing other characters, like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Right.
Or Laurel and Hardy, or, Vincent Price was in, sort of. Price played Vincent Price. I loved when they started adding the characters other than Scrappy Doo.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. So you mentioned the guest stars. That is my favorite. I'm glad you did that because that's my favorite version of Scooby-Doo, were those Scooby-Doo movies that I think it debuted in like 72 or 73 on CBS, and they were hour long instead of a half hour, and they had the Harlem Globetrotters, my favorite, Batman and Robin, Don Knotts, Sandy Duncan, Sonny and Cher, the Addams Family, Phyllis Diller. The list just goes on and on, all these. And they actually had the actors voicing the characters. It was very cool.
I remember the Phyllis Diller episode now because they just her hair was exaggerated anyway, but they really took it over the top.
Yeah. I think one of the latest versions of Scooby-Doo, one that aired on, probably it was Boomerang. No, I think it might have been Cartoon Network, and then later on in Max so there's 2 or 3 seasons at least, it was kind of a riff on that. It's Scooby-Doo and Guess Who. And again, they had guest stars like Weird Al, Batman came back, Wonder Woman was on one this time, but a lot of real life actors again showed up on the show, and it was a lot of fun. Of course, being older, it's not as magical as those early versions were. So who's your favorite of the five? Of the five, who's your favorite character?
Shaggy's my favorite.
Yeah.
He's laid back and mellow. And was he a stoner? I don't know. Probably not. The writers say he was not.
Yeah.
And who played him in the live action one? Was it Matthew Lillard?
It was Matthew Lillard in the original feature films.
Right. And he said he wasn't a stoner, that he was just laid back. And it cracks me up because my second son, he was born with some defects in his eyes. And so the lids didn't open all the way. And the doctors told us, well, we can do surgery, and they would either not open all the way or not close all the way. And so we opted to just leave it. And so he always looked stoned. And in high school, he said that more than once he'd be walking down the hall and people would go, oh man, is he stoned again? He obviously wasn't. So that reminded me of my son. Yeah. He was my favorite before that, but
Shaggy's my favorite too. Not for that reason, but I can see why it would be for you, just because of the character and the way he was designed and being laid back, but also because he was voiced by one of the true greats in this world. And not that the other voice actors weren't, but Casey Kasem is something special, I think, to an entire generation of those of us that listen to American Top 40 and all the things that Casey did.
Yeah. Well, and, Casey voiced him for a while, then he quit, and then he came back to it. But the actor that did Fred
in the movies?
No, Frank Welker.
Yeah, Frank Welker, yes.
Yeah, he did for 50 years, he did Fred.
Yeah.
It's amazing, He
was also the voice of Scooby, right?
Maybe.
I think he was.
Maybe so.
For a while. Anyway, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Oh, no, I was just going to say the iconic Casey Kasem. I mean, between American Top 40 and, Super Friends and and Shaggy, it was just, that was super.
It was. It was. It's great to have Shaggy or Robin the Boy Wonder doing the top 40 countdown every week.
There you go.
All right, so you mentioned him earlier, Scott. What are your thoughts about Scrappy Doo?
I hated Scrappy for a couple of reasons. Number one, he was loud and boisterous, which always bothered me. Those type of characters were they're the ones you wanted to hate, but he became the lead, right? And Scooby and Shaggy became kind of background characters. And that was, to me, that was just a bad decision overall. And he wasn't a role model, right? Not that Shaggy and Scooby necessarily were role models, but still, he was a brat, and I hated the brat.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either for all those reasons, but I also think maybe the reason I'm not a fan is because as they introduced Scrappy, so I was in high school, and maybe it's just that, I hit that age where that kind of character would not have any appeal, but that's possibly not it either. He's been recognized as a bad character in like the feature films and a lot of different things where he's ended up turning out to be a villain in the end. In preparation for a conversation around Scrappy, I whipped together a little song using AI over on Udio. It's not just Scrappy I pick on here. I'm going to pick on Cousin Oliver and Ted McGinley of all people. This song's called The Doom Patrol, and we'll be right back, folks.
TV fans beware, the Doom Patrol is near. There's Cousin Oliver, the Brady's little pest. He brought trouble to that family, gave them no rest. And then there's Ted McGinley, he's the show killer king. His presence means trouble, a terrible thing. And last but not least, we've got Scrappy Doo, a pup so annoying, he's the worst of the crew. TV fans beware, run from this horrible trio, 'cause they're bound to bring bad luck wherever they go. They're the Doom Patrol. The Doom. It doesn't matter which TV show, the writing's on the wall. They're the harbingers of doom. Each program is bound to fall. From sitcoms to dramas, they really don't give a hoot. Once they join that TV show, they'll bear the most bitter fruit. So when you see them, just know the time is near. Your show will meet its maker. They are truly worthy of fear. TV fans beware, run from this horrible trio, 'cause they're bound to bring bad luck wherever they go.
I do feel a little bit bad about including Ted McGinley because he was in Married with Children, and that's a great show.
For a long time, too.
Yeah, and he was awesome as Jefferson Darcy. I love that made Marcy Darcy, first and foremost. He showed up in, I think, like Happy Days, and that was the end of that show. He showed up in Love Boat. That was the end of that show. Dynasty, I think, towards the tail end. He just showed up in a bunch of shows right as they were ending. And of course, Cousin Oliver. Confession here, I don't mind those Cousin Oliver episodes, but he was the harbinger of doom for that show as well. And Scrappy, definitely the most annoying.
Well, luckily he was gone before too long. So,
well, yeah, but there was a good decade of Scrappy stuff, and they even jettisoned some of the main characters on some of those versions. Like, let me go back up to this image here. And this is when you and I probably weren't watching cartoons very much, but if you look at Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo was when they introduced him. So that was like right going into the 80s. Right. But then they had this new Scooby and Scrappy-Doo show during the 83 and the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries in 84. And you'll notice that characters shown there, there's no Velma, there's no Fred. Yeah. They jettisoned those. And then you mentioned Vincent Price. He was in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. I don't know if I've ever seen an episode of that, but I don't think all of the characters were in that. And I don't know if Scrappy, I think Scrappy might have been gone by then. He was gone by a pup named Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. 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 Because you got to see the younger Scooby and Shaq.
Right. Right. There was this craze right around the late 80s where they made Muppet Babies. They made all sorts of characters that we grew up and loved younger again. And that was what they did with the Scooby Gang, with a pup named Scooby-Doo. They were all younger kids, and it was kind of fun, at least for a little while. All right, final thoughts on Scoob.
You know, iconic, just a good fun time, right? It was either a worthy half hour or a worthy hour once they went to the movies, but it was a good time. And you knew exactly how it was going to play out, but you didn't care. You were along for the ride. You wanted to see the Rube Goldberg machine. You wanted him to take off the mask, and you probably figured it out, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, speaking of good time, this has been a good time. I'm so glad we're doing these again and look forward to doing many more episodes into the future, Scott.
Well, thanks for the invitation, my friend. It's been a long time, but it's been fun.
Night, Shaggy.
Night, Daphne.
Good night, Scoob. Good night, Waggy.
Night, Scooby.
Good night, Velma.
Good night, scary monster at the foot of my bed.
Huh?
Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Weeknights at 7, only on Cartoon Network.
Thank you all for standing by through and through. It's the kind of strength that lifts the shadows too. And all I gotta say is thank you all, thank you all.
Click on that thumbnail cause it's time to go. Dave's got the classics, let the memories flow. TV shows and movies that we all hold so dear. On his YouTube channel he's keeping memories near. Dave Sundstrom, bringing back the good stuff, oh yeah.